hopefully your microphones are on mute and you get just to listen to me, which is just a joyful thing to have on a Tuesday morning. We're recording this from the school hall, and we've chosen here to do this talk this morning because there are three key words that we want to keep coming back to for us as a school. The first is to reconnect, and I'll explain a bit more about that in a moment. Our second key word is reignite, and our last key word is to rebuild. And hopefully, as we explain how schools want to restart, these words will start to make sense to you. So our starting point is that all our pupils will return at the start of September. Year 6, Year 5, Year 4, Year 3, Year 2, Year 1. Reception will have their usual staggered start that they have every year, where we bring some pupils in the morning, then bring some pupils in the afternoon, and then bring them in for half a day, bring them in for a full day, and very quickly they're in full time, and the same will apply to nursery. Our principle is that we can't waste time. So we have to reconnect with our pupils, and whilst we've been using Google Classrooms, and we've been awarded yet again by the London Grid for Learning, which is an educational charity that works right across London and actually now across the UK. We came second for our digital work across all primaries and secondaries. Again, congratulations to Mr. Kenner and his team for delivering that success for us. Whilst Google Classrooms works really well to set work, it is virtually impossible to maintain relationships. And we think relationships are the key to learning. So it's really important for us in the first instance that our pupils all get back to us at the start of September. So the first thing we want to talk about is just how we reconnect. And our plan is that we will have our pupils back in, and we will try to do as much as we normally did do, as normally as we did it before. I'll expand on that in a few moments' time and tell you what things are in place from the very start of September and what things we're going to work towards, or what things we're going to rebuild back in across September, October, November time. So the first thing to say is that school gates will open at 8:30 in the morning, just like they have done all the way in the past and all the way through the lockdown period. And we would ask that children are dropped off between 8:30 and 10 to 9. That's a slight change. So we'd like the children in just slightly earlier. It used to be that you could arrive at 5 to 9, but we'd be really grateful if the children could arrive in a 20-minute window between 8:30 and 10 to 9. You'll bring the children along Bexley Road. We think council will have put markings on the road as well by September just to help people to space themselves out. But we welcome them at the gate on the road, and the children will come in by themselves. We'll carry on doing what we've been doing, which works for us, which is that we will welcome the children just with the hand across the chest, still no handshakes unfortunately, and then one of the staff will take the children's temperatures. And the reason that we're taking the children's temperatures as well as all the staff's each day is that it's not a guaranteed way to know if someone has got coronavirus, but it's one of the indications, and it would seem to us that we have the equipment to do it. We've got thermal imaging cameras to do the temperatures. It doesn't cost us anything to do it, and we're going to make the staff available to do it. So we don't see any harm in taking temperatures, so we'll do that in the morning time. The children should return to school with their full uniform, their ties back, thank God. Uniform can be either the summer uniform up until October, or just straight into winter uniform. We don't mind as long as the children look smart and look like they belong to this school. Going back to this word again. If we're going to reconnect, we have to feel like we're all part of something, and uniform helps us to feel like we are part of something. 10 to 9, we'll close the gates. We'll be really grateful if the children aren't late, because if the children are late, I've got to make staff available to do the hand washing and the temperature checks, when really I want my staff in the classrooms teaching. When the children come down the main pathway in the morning, we've got hand sanitizers that we've been using all the way through. We've got adults there to check that it happens. The children just sanitize their hands and they come straight on into the classroom, just like they would have done in the past. So that will allow us to reconnect. I'll be able to speak to you out on the street, as long as you stay well away from me. But we'll be encouraging families to communicate with the school through the phone and ideally the email system, admin@stfidelis.org.uk. .baxley.school.uk, because that way we can get through all the communication and we can respond to you. Once the kids are back in school during the school day, it will be normal. They'll have an English lesson, a maths lesson like they would have had. They'll have their break time. They'll have another lesson after break, and then they'll have their lunch. And they'll have a couple of lessons in the afternoon. And then the school day will be slightly different. The children will be dismissed at 3 o'clock, 10 past 3, and 20 past 3. So you can see what we've done. We've shifted slightly earlier in the morning, and we've shifted the end of the day slightly earlier than what it was last year. Our school day remains the same length, and I think that is unusual. I think some schools have cut back their school day. Our school day is the same, we've just shifted slightly earlier. But we'd be really grateful for your help about the pick-up at the end of the day, because that would be the part of the day that would be most difficult for the school and for parents in terms of social distancing. And the idea is that if we can get some year groups picked up and away at 3 o'clock, we can get some more year groups out at 10 past 3, and we can get the final year groups out at 20 past 3. And the details are in the newsletter, and there'll be plenty of staff around in the first few days just to make sure we understand how to do it. Things that you can do to help with pick-up is that if one of you comes to pick up, it'd be really good if you don't bring mum, dad, granny, aunt, next door neighbour's cat, and your best friend's friend. Because if we bring lots of adults onto the playground, it just makes it more difficult for us to keep people apart. And I think the key message that we keep hearing over and over and over again is to keep adults away from adults. It's really important, particularly through the winter period that's coming up ahead of us. And if we get into those habits now, it'll be much easier for us later on. If you've got children in different year groups, perhaps you've got a child in reception and another child in year 5, you would just come and collect at the time that the oldest child is dismissed. So for example, year 5 is dismissed at 20 past 3, so we would say just come at 20 past 3 and collect both children at that time. And in the nicest possible way, pick your kids up and get out of school again as quick as you can, because it makes more space for us to get more families through. So that in essence is what we need families to help us with. Bring the kids between 8:30 and 10 to 9 in the morning and be on time for pick-up at the end of the day. Many of you won't be able to be here in the morning or at the end of the school day because you have jobs to go to and things that you need to do. So we're really pleased that we are able to get Jacqueline's Gems, the breakfast and after school club provider, back in here from the start of September. I've met with Jacqueline's Gems a couple of times now, and we've got a plan for how that's going to work. So for us, what's going to happen is that just like before, Jacqueline's Gems will be here from 7:30 in the morning, and they will be here after school until 6:30. And what we are hoping is going to work well for us is that then those children come in the morning, do what they need to do in terms of their breakfast here, and they'll be in this room, they'll be in the hall. We think we'll have between 30, 40, 45 children potentially attending breakfast and after school club each day. So that's our first plan. Moving on from that then, I want to talk a little bit about how the day itself is going to go. I think now you as parents understand what I need you to do to help us, and I'll explain to you what we'll do to help you in terms of we've got the breakfast and after school club here to help from the very start. Now, we've talked about reconnecting. I just want to talk about reigniting. Lots of our children have worked really hard at home all the way through this period, and we are really grateful to you as families for all that you've done to help to encourage or to cajole your child to do the learning each day. I fully appreciate that some days the children at home have been more enthusiastic about doing the English and doing the maths, and also on other days, maybe you as a parent have had to push a little bit more to get that work done. So I'm really grateful for the work that's gone into making the learning work. Now, to reignite our pupils, what we need to do now is get them back into the habit of learning in a classroom environment with 29 other children around them, and some children will find that difficult. You can help us with that really by helping us with the key part of our school development plan, which is reading. We think one of the biggest challenges that our pupils will face in the autumn is getting back into the habit of reading really frequently and really regularly. And we're going to do lots of reading in school, and we will do lots of teaching of reading in school. And then we'd be really grateful if you as parents to get the children some time of an evening just to read as well. Make some space, either for you to read to them, or for them to read to you, or just some time at home where the TV is off, the tablet or the phone is put away, and it's a space where the children are encouraged to read. So I'd be really grateful if you could help with that. Now, I want just to briefly talk about how we think we are going to rebuild the day. During our school day, what our hope is that the children will very quickly get back into the pattern and the habit and the flow of how school works. To help with that, we're going to partition our children up a little bit. So our year 1s and 2s will have a playground that they share, just like they've had in the past. And they will have some opportunity to mix out in that playground outdoors. So that will be a maximum of 120 children mixing on that playground. They'll use the playground where you pick up at the end of the day, and they'll also use the all-weather pitch, which you can see at the far end. It's the metal railed pitch that you can see at the far end of the field. They'll have access to that at a break time, every lunchtime. What we've done up in Key Stage 2 for year 3, 4, 5 and 6 is we're going to partition them into 2 groups. And our year 3 and our year 5 pupils will have their playtime together and their lunchtime play together. So they'll be mixing in around about 120 kids again. And then our year 4 and our year 6s, they will mix and they will have playtime together and lunchtime together, so that we're trying our best to keep the groups within our school as apart as we can. So that's our first plan, playtimes and lunchtimes. Segmenting them into 2 year groups, year 1 and 2, year 3 and 5, year 4 and 6. Reception will have their own playtime and their own play area because they've already got a setup for that that's fenced off, and nursery will continue to have their playtime in their nursery area. Coming to lunches, which I think are really important. Nursery reception, year 1, they'll have their lunch in the dinner hall. They'll have half-hour slot each. Nursery will come in, have half an hour, we'll wipe it down. Reception will come in, have their lunch for half an hour, we'll wipe it down. And then year 1 will come in and have their lunch, and then we'll wipe it down. Year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5 and year 6, they'll all have their packed lunch or their hot school dinner in their classroom. We'll deliver it from the hall and we'll deliver it to the classrooms, and those children will eat in the classrooms rather than having too many children mixing in the hall. All the other things that we have been doing will continue. The hand washing will continue frequently before and after playtimes. When we eat, hand washing, hand washing, hand washing. Hands will be sanitised coming in the morning, kids will wash hands going home. So that will be our process really around keeping really good hygiene. In the classrooms during the day, our staff, our teaching staff, have access to cloths and cleaning materials, and they're being encouraged to wipe down tables during the day, particularly after doing something perhaps a little bit messy, like a science lesson, just to give the tables a wipe down. And also our staff will be wiping down all the classroom tables after the children eat at lunchtime as well. And then obviously our cleaners who are employed by the school have been doing a fantastic job of making sure our school's really clean every morning and every evening after school as well, and that will continue. Our whole curriculum is back from the start of September. We'll have PE. It will be outdoors in the main. We will have music. It will be in the classrooms, or it will be with, again, really good hand hygiene. But for us, in order for us to reignite the children's interest in the curriculum, we need to offer the whole curriculum. So that will be starting from the very start. We've completed a risk assessment. Governors are meeting this evening to approve that risk assessment for September, and that risk assessment will be on the website all summer long if you want to have a read at it. And if you have any questions, you can always email those into admin at sv-fidelis.bexley.school.uk, and we're very happy to answer those. So I think in the main, that's where we're up to. We're really looking forward to the children being back. It's been lovely to have nursery reception year 1 and year 6, but it's felt a bit empty at times here, and really the school will only feel right once all our children are back here, and that's why we're looking forward to having them here from the start of September. So we will reconnect with our pupils, we will reignite their interest in the whole of the curriculum, and we will rebuild what the school was prior to being shut down in March as quickly as we can. Now I'm going to pause there for a moment because there may be questions, and I'm going to suggest that just like last time, the way we manage this is that if you use the chat function to put questions in, and then we'll try and answer those. We'll obviously answer the easy questions, and we'll do our very best with the hard questions, and if I can't answer them for you today, we'll put it out to you in writing at some stage before the start of term. So I'll pause there for a moment and I'll see if there are any questions. Okay, what have you got for me?
Where will we be dropping off and collecting from Jacqueline's gems? Will it be via the school office again or through the gates?
That's a really good question. So if you're dropping off for Jacqueline's gems in the morning, you're going to drop off, I think you may have seen it before, where the disabled car parking bay is. So as you come around the building, you'll see a compound there, it'll be made up of a few fencing panels, and you'll drop off to there. And then what will happen is you will ring Jacqueline's gems on their mobile phone number, and one of the staff will come down and collect. And the reason for that change is what we don't want is parents in that small reception area every morning and evening, because then what will happen is I'll have staff going through there, parents waiting there, other kids coming out, and it's a very small space with a lot of, potentially a lot of individuals in it. So the change we're making is you walk around, you'll come to that compound, it's signposted, you hang around in there. If you ring Jacqueline's gems, will come out just like they used to do, but they'll just come out through the first door and out onto that car park, pick your child up off you there, and then you can go on your way. We've also put in place a gazebo. You may not have seen this yet on the main pathway. So if, for example, you arrive slightly early in the morning, let's say 20 past 7 or 25 past 7 before Jacqueline's gems opens, you've got somewhere sheltered to stand and wait, and it's well ventilated, it's just got a roof and 4 open sides to that. At the end of the school day, if you're picking up from Jacqueline's gems, same principle, you'll come round to that compound, wait there, give a ring. Jacqueline's gems will bring the children down to you, and the important bit is they'll bring them out to you, out to that compound. And again, if you come when it's wet and it's raining and you don't fancy standing there, you can stand around under that gazebo in the main pathway at those times. We can't shelter under the gazebo at the start and end of the day because of the amount of traffic that'll be coming up and down there. But if you're coming early or late for Jacqueline's gems, we think that will work.
Will the children be bringing back school bags, PE kits, and bringing books home again?
Okay, so yes, yes, and yes. So if I take that in 3 parts, first of all, yes, we want the children to bring in PE kits. The only person who wears the PE kit is the child. Before and after PE, the children will wash their hands. We'll probably send the PE kits home every couple of weeks to get washed a bit more regularly than we were doing before. And that'll be no bad thing anyway, because by the time they get to year 5 and year 6, some of the PE kits have an interesting smell off them after no time at all. So the PE kits will come home a bit more frequently to get washed, but the children are only people who are wearing them. So good hand washing, start and end. And going back to this keyword, I can't reconnect if my kids aren't physically fit. And we're well aware that some of our pupils may not have had as much physical exercise as we all would have liked them to have had, just because it's been difficult. The second bit was the bags, Jennifer. Yeah. Yes, the bags are really helpful, because if they've got a packed lunch, they're going to bring a bag in. If they've got a water bottle, which we really, really want to encourage, we want that brought in every day, that's absolutely fine. And again, the only person touching that bag will be the pupil. It's not essential they bring it in, but they should bring it. We don't want them to bring anything they don't really need, but if a bag's a good way of organising yourself, then put the stuff in a bag and handle it. And then the last bit of that question was the books.
Reading books.
Right. So, reading books, we're fairly sure what we're doing with this. We're still looking at the guidance around it. So if is this a question from a young parent or an older parent? Sorry, an older child or a younger child's parent?
Reception.
Okay. So we've got to make sure what we can do around reception. We're conscious that there's an issue around infection through touch and shared materials. We think what we might be able to do is send home a reading book for the week, and then you as a parent use that book for the week. Then that book comes back to us, and then we leave it aside for 72 hours, because if you leave it for 72 hours, any problem with virus on it should be gone after 72 hours, and then we can reuse the book. So we'll have to do things slightly differently. We might not be able to send a book home every day in the way that we would have done at one time. Send books home for the week, you use them, they come back, and then we have a system just to leave those books to one side until they're clean. Again, guidance may change on that during the next month and a bit, but that's our plan at the minute. At the other end of the school, year 4, 5 and 6, it's slightly easier, because if I give you a book to read, it's probably a novel, and you're going to read it for a period of time. So it's going to be you holding on to that book for several days or a couple of weeks. And then again, same system when it comes back. Like we are at the minute, the books just go in the box, they get left to one side for the 72 hours, and then we reuse them.
Is the drop-off staggered just like the pickup, and what time is drop-off?
No, the drop-off is not staggered in the morning time. Because we're quite fortunate because we've been open all the way through. What we found is that people have been really good at doing staggered drop-off anyway. So we've got 20 minutes in the morning for families to drop off. I live staff out on that main street just like at the minute, and all we would ask is that everybody just uses their common sense really. You'll see when you come, if there's a queue, just hang back and we'll process those children in, get the temperatures taken, get the hands washed, get more children in, and we think that'll work pretty well for us. So we'll use the 20 minutes. If it doesn't, we have to adjust it. Again, we'll just communicate with you and say, okay, we're going to change that. But our feeling is that generally families are pretty good at dropping off over a period of time. We've been in touch with the local authority and we've agreed the road marking or the path markings that we'd like put down during August. And they're about 2 metres apart and they go up towards the graveyard, toward Tesco, and then we've asked for other ones to go in on the way down towards the Angela Centre too. And then families can do other things to help us, like if you park around Carton Road, or you park a bit further away and you walk around, I think we'll find the crowds will dissipate. I think the bigger issue for us will be the end of the day, and that's why we've gone for the 3, 10 past 3, 20 past 3, because it's everybody get out at the same time. So that's our plan for that at the moment.
Will students need to bring their own stationery and will they share equipment?
So we've got a plan for that, as we always traditionally give the pupils pens and pencils and things here in school, and we will carry on doing that. We'll be going with the hand hygiene as the key thing first of all. Pupils will end up sharing equipment. That's the reality in schools. Because even if we were to stand here today and say they never share equipment, I can guarantee you with 475 children, somebody's going to hand somebody something. It's a Catholic school, we're all terribly helpful. Our thinking is that pupils in the class, and the guidance suggests pupils in the class can all handle things in their classroom because they're all mixing anyway. They'll have their own pens and pencils on their own tables, and you'll have seen if you watched the last call the way the tables are in rows. And that will limit the amount of sharing of materials that there might be, but there will still inevitably be some sharing of equipment.
Will the staggered pickup time stay in place for most of the year?
My best guess at this point is yes, certainly until at least Christmas. So we're taking a term at a time. That will be the case, we think, till Christmas. It may well be for the whole year. I think until we all know what's happening with this coronavirus come next winter, we have to work on that basis. We're fairly confident the infection rates are low at the moment, so it's a good time for us to get our systems right. I'm also fairly confident that I think that infection rates will rise a little bit as we go into the winter, and that's why we want to get our systems right from the start and get everybody into the right habits from the start. So yeah, certainly for the first term, that will be the plan, and then we'll take it from there.
Where will late collection be from?
There won't be late collection. Children will be picked up on time, and if they're not picked up on time, they will go into childcare after school, and that will be costed. We never complain as a school about funding to you as parents, because I just don't think it's what I should do. But I have to tell you that being open through this period has cost the school over £30,000. To put that into context, that's a teacher's wage. So we are spending additional monies on cleaning, additional monies on materials, and additional monies on the staffing that we have to do. We've had to employ more midday supervisors, lovely as they are, they don't come for free. And I cannot afford to be employing any more staff to care for children who are late collected. So the deal is you pick your children up on time, and if you're not able to, that's not a problem, but they will go into childcare and there will be a cost with that. Really, that's as far as I can make it. Budgets are really difficult. I think we're doing what we can do, but I need everybody's help to make this work.
Will there be any school clubs apart from Jackie's James?
Yeah, there will be. Thanks for asking. This rebuild we're talking about, we're going to start with Coach Alex and football after school, and we're just starting with that one club to start with, and we're going to rebuild it very quickly from there. We've deliberately chosen the football after school club because it's very popular. We can run it 3 nights a week. We can partition the children, so our plan is to have a year 1-2 night. Because if you remember, I said the year 1-2s are playing in the playground together. So we'll have a year 1-2 football night, then we'll have a year 3-5 football night because they're mixing on the playground together, and then we'll have a year 4-6 football night because they're mixing together. It's outdoors, which is really helpful because, again, all the guidance is doing things outdoors is the best way to work. And then we'll look to put the other clubs in after that. So we'll start there. And in terms of timescales, the idea would be that hopefully through September, we can get 1 or 2 more clubs back in. The challenge we face just is in terms of physical spaces, because I need to get the school cleaned after school, and it's hard to clean a school with lots of people in it. So one of the pressures we've got is to get people out of the building and out of rooms so that rooms can be properly washed down. But we'll rebuild it from there. So that's where we're starting. Football first, and then look at the others after.
How will we support the children to catch up on teacher-directed learning that they have missed since lockdown?
That's a really good question. In the first instance, it will be reading. That will be really important to us, and we're going to carry on with the Google Classrooms. So we think that you will be able to see the majority of the work that's being set through the Google Classrooms because we use those extensively. We've ordered another 120-ish Chromebooks for the school for September. And as you know, we use lots of Chromebooks already in school. I think we've already got 160. We've purchased another 120. We'll have far more Chromebooks in school to make far more use of the Google Classrooms in school as well as potentially outside of school. I think if you can read with your child, that would be really important. If you want to access those Google Classrooms each evening, you can. And I think what you've got to work out as a family is how much your child can reasonably cope with. One of our pieces of learning from this experience has been, particularly for the year 1s and the year 6s who come back in June and July, they're tired at the end of the day, and kids have lost stamina. There's no criticism, it's just they've lost stamina, so you'll need to balance what energy levels come back into the house for you at the end of the day. And it might be that actually after a long hard day at school, they don't need mum and dad standing there with another maths task to do. It might be that they are ready for that, and that's fine, but you'll be best placed to judge how to support that.
Forgive me for this. Will peripatetic music lessons resume from September?
No, they won't to start with, but we've got a plan to get those back in place. Bart College, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Bart College, which provided lots of those one-to-one and small group lessons for us, it's shut now. Unfortunately, it's one of the things that's really been a victim of this virus. It's closed its doors and it won't be offering that anymore. A lot of the music lessons we do as a school, we have through individual relationships with music teachers, and we're hoping to be able to sustain those. Some of the instruments are easier than others. So piano, for example, we think we can get a risk assessment in place, and we think that Andrea, who does our piano teaching in school, I think we can find a way to make that work with her being a little bit distant from the kids. Violin potentially might be all right, but there's a couple of instruments that might just give us a few problems around the wind instruments, and the guidance at the moment is not to do those unless you've got very big spaces to work in, and I'm not quite sure how to get that in. So a bit like we just said about the after-school clubs, the rebuilding, there will be music lessons. They may not be from the very start of September, and they won't be for all instruments at the very start. But our motivation and our intention is to get them back in as quickly as we can in that autumn term. Because again, if you're trying to reconnect with the kids, if that's the hook that you have with the child is the music, then we've got to get that hook as quick as we can back in place. We'll communicate on that. We've still got lots of conversations to have with those individual instrument teachers.
What is happening about the Year 3 Holy Communion and the Holy Communions next year?
Okay. So the current Year 3 children who should have made their first communion back in May, we've set a provisional date for that to happen in October time. We haven't shared it with you as parents because it isn't confirmed yet, and we need the Archbishop's approval to do that. So we've got a date in the diary that we'd like to do it. We have an idea of how we might do it. It will be different, and we will communicate that with you probably in August, but I'm waiting on Archbishop's approval for us to do what we'd like to do. Just in short, our plan is that at the minute the first communion would be the child and 2 parents or 2 family members, so that it would be a family unit of 3 coming to that first communion. That would allow the child to make their first communion. We can't do the large family groups. The church isn't allowed to have, there's a limited number of people you can put in the church at the minute. And then we'll present that to families not as an option. Families are going to make the choice whether they wish to go for that option or whether they wish to wait and do it in the future. But that's our plan at the moment. So provisionally it's in October. We'll share that in the month of August once I've got approval through for what we're looking to do. But it will be a child and up to 2 family members. The second part of that was another group.
Next year's year 3.
So the current year 2 rising to year 3 pupils plan is to start the first communion programme as we normally would, because we would be looking for them to make their first communion around May time, and who knows where we'll be by May time. But our best guess is that churches will be open in May, and it might be there's limits on numbers, and it might be we need to again do the first communion slightly different to the way we've done it in the past. But we're going to start that and carry on as we would have done in the past.
What's happening about the year 6 residential?
Residentials are really difficult. Mr. Kenner is in weekly contact with the residential settings, the 2 that we use. And the guidance is very clear at the moment. There can be no residentials before Christmas. Isn't that right? Right. So guidance is there can't be any overnight stays before Christmas. So that means there are no residentials for next year's year 6 or next year's year 4 at the moment. Provisionally, we've got one booked in for the year 4 in January, but we can't confirm that yet because the residential centre can't confirm it, and we can't be sure that we're happy to go either at the moment. But we've got a date in place, and the year 6 one we don't have a date yet.
Between February and April.
We don't have a definite date yet, but we're looking between February and April for that. A lot's going to depend on what the situation is in terms of the virus at that time. But again, I suppose if it's helpful, you probably get a sense of what the school's approach is going to be. We want these things, so rather than just saying no, they're not happening, our starting point is yes, let's see if we can do them. But at the moment, they would both be in the spring or the summer term, but we've got a lot of work to do before we can confirm those.
Will face masks for children be mandatory?
No, the government guidance is really clear up to this point, which is that there is no need, they've said, to wear face masks in school settings for adults or for pupils. Now, I know the government's going to change that guidance for adults in shops and other public spaces moving forward, but the guidance to schools has been really clear all the way through that there is no need to wear face masks in school. I think there are several reasons for that, but in essence, the children are eating together, they're drinking together, they're going to be touching surfaces together, and the evidence would appear to be that wearing a mask just won't work in a school setting, that if you're going to pick infection up, you're going to pick it up through touch and through poor hand hygiene. So that's why the guidance is as it is. Again, if that guidance changes, we would tell you, but that's really clear in all the stuff that's been published by the government for schools so far.
Will lunches go back to the same as before? I.e., at the moment, children can be a mixture of packed lunch and school dinner without notification, whereas before we actually inform the school reception if the children change their mind.
So ask me that question again.
So, can a child change his mind about school? Can he go from a hot lunch to a packed lunch without informing the
right. No, we prefer to get people back into the system in September. Again, this goes back to money and budgets again. We're currently having to deploy a member of our staff for about 3 hours every morning to sort out the lunch orders. It's not a problem, but it's an additional job and an additional cost that we didn't have before, because we're having to pre-arrange all these takeaway pots that go to all the classrooms. We have to make sure that the right food goes in the right pots, and the right pots go to the right classrooms, and children with allergies don't get the wrong pots, and it's a massive job. We've met with Harrison's, who provide the food, yesterday, and the menus have been set. There's a 2-week menu that's been set that will roll through September, October time. And we would say to families, look, there should be enough choice on there for the children to choose, and let's pick this one way or the other, because it does cause a huge amount of administrative work if we've got people changing all the time. So packed lunches are fine, hot meals are fine, but we just respectfully ask if you can go for one or other if you can at all, please, because it does make for difficulties otherwise.
I have 2 children, one in nursery, one in year 2. What time should I pick them up?
You come at the latest time. So the year 2 child would be 3:10. So you just pick them up at 3:10. Nursery will hold on to the nursery child until 3:10. But the idea being that what I don't want for you as parents is for you to be picking up from nursery at 3 o'clock and then hanging around for another 10 minutes and taking up space on the playground, but actually it's better if you just come at 3:10 pick up your nursery child, pick up your year child, 2 child, and then go home.
Can you please confirm the start date in September?
Yes. Children's first day is Thursday, the 3rd of September. I had to look off camera because Mr. Kennedy was reminding me in case I got that wrong. But the children will start back on the Thursday, the 3rd, which is good for us because actually means they're in on the 3rd, they're in on the 4th, the Friday, they've got a weekend, and then it's back in full time, 5 days. The only place that doesn't apply is for the new reception and new nursery. But there's a letter coming out for the new reception children today, and I think the new nursery letter either goes out today or tomorrow, and you've all got individual plans for the first week and week and a half for your children, but everybody else, Thursday the 3rd.
Can you please confirm what time year 1 collections?
Yeah, it's all in the newsletter, but basically it'll be 3:10. So nursery and reception pickup, 3 o'clock, please. Year 1 and 2, 3:10, please. And then year 3, 4, 5, and 6, 3:20, please, off the playground. And you'll see how we've pushed the kids further apart at the end of the day. Some of the children will come up off year 3, 4, 5, and 6. Some of them will come up near the trim trail way up by the netted fencing. But again, when you come, it'll be clear to you, you'll be able to see, and I think we'll very quickly get into the patterns of how we flew in around the playground and back out again.
That's all our questions.
That's all our questions. But look, thank you for your time this morning. As I said, there's a recording of this being made. It'll go up on the website later. If you do know other people who've missed this morning or have got better things to do with their time than listening to me, if you could pass on the message that it's on the website, I'd be really grateful, because sometimes the easiest way to understand something is just to listen to it. But thank you for your time. Have a lovely summer. We look forward to seeing all our children back in September. Thank you.